Hey everyone! My name is Mini Assassin, and today I'll be stepping out of my comfort zone and attempting my very first hardcore Nuzlocke in Pokémon FireRed version. In a Nuzlocke, a Pokémon that faints is dead forever. This is the rule that usually gets me, since I get discouraged and quit if anything dies. Standard hardcore rules apply, which can be found in the description. Since we aren't bound to a rule set that limits our starter to an objectively correct one, I let my trainer ID pick for me. If the final number is 1 to 3, I pick Bulbasaur, 4 to 6 is Squirtle, and 9 to 7 is Charmander. Our ID ends in 1, so Bulbasaur gets picked. I name him Luke, then head off on our journey together. After getting Pokéballs, we can catch a few more team members. A Pidgey named Leia from Route 1, a Rattata named Anakin from Route 22, a Weedle named Padme from Route 2, and a Caterpie named Obi-Wan from Viridian Forest. Our rival Jabba has an optional battle on Route 22, which I gladly take part in. It wouldn't be a Mini Assassin video if I didn't embrace my inner pacifist and lead with Leech Seed. After missing a Growl thanks to Sand Attack, I switch to Obi-Wan, who is now a Metapod, and get Pidgey down into the red. A few Sand Attacks make me nervous to take on Charmander, so I switch to Padme the Kakuna and use Harden as Leech Seed takes out Pidgey. Charmander doesn't know Ember yet, and Poison Sting manages to poison him on the first hit, so he goes down without much trouble. Leia is able to mow her way through the bug catchers of Viridian Forest, and get us to Pewter City, where we challenge Brock. Even at level 10, Luke easily takes out both his Geodude and Onix with a Vine Whip apiece. Quite a bit happens on the way to Cerulean City. On Route 3, Obi-Wan evolves into a Butterfree, and we catch a male Nidoran named Jar Jar Binks. On Route 4, Luke evolves into Ivysaur, and we catch an Ekans named C-3PO. After some more training, we can take on Jabba on Nugget Bridge. Obi-Wan leads the charge, putting Pidgeotto to sleep with a 97% accurate sleep powder thanks to his Compound Eyes ability. A couple confusions don't do very much as Pidgeotto wakes up and hits a Sand Attack. This causes our next sleep powder to miss, letting him hit a nasty gust. We manage to land another sleep powder, then switch to Anakin to take Pidgeotto out with a Hyper Fang. Anakin one-shots Jabba's Rattata, then nearly goes down to Charmander's Ember before taking him out. Abra can't do anything, so he goes down easily as well. Victory here lets us leave the city, so I catch an Oddish named Yoda on Route 5 and a Meowth named Chewbacca on Route 6, both of whom will live in the box for now. Against Misty, Luke one-shots her Staryu with Vine Whip, then takes Starmie into the red with another 2. Not wanting to have Luke hog all the action, I switch to Padme as Misty heals. Twin Needle deals over half of Starmie's health, but Padme gets confused from their second Water Pulse. She breaks through and takes it out though, even getting a needless critical hit. Heading to Vermilion City, Jar Jar Binks and Leia both evolve and we catch a Drowsy named Palpatine. While training, we come across a mechanic with a scary Magneton. Despite putting it to sleep, it gets the one-turn wake-up to take out Luke with a Sonic Boom. Jar Jar Binks can come in for the revenge kill with Double Kick, but losing a team member is never ideal. Luke's sacrifice wasn't for naught though, as Anakin and Jar Jar Binks evolve to help avenge their fallen comrade. Aboard the SSN, we run into Jabba again, and Chewbacca almost takes out Pidgeotto thanks to a critical payday, but a few Sand Attacks prevent him from landing the kill, so I have to switch to Leia to finish with Quick Attack. His Raticate comes in to nearly kill Leia with a critical Hyper Fang, then does solid damage with another critical hit as I switch to Jar Jar Binks. A Double Kick takes care of Raticate, then I switch to Palpatine as Kadabra whips 2 disables, but then disables Palpatine's Headbutt. As Kadabra misses Kinesis, I disable it, forcing him to use Confusion, which obviously confuses Palpatine. Headbutt becomes available again, letting us take him out. After hitting himself twice, Palpatine nearly dies, so I switch to Anakin and finish Charmeleon with 2 Hyper Fangs. Next, I head to Diglett's Cave to get a guaranteed ground type for Surge's Electric Gym. We manage to get the 5% Dugtrio encounter, and I also catch her without losing anyone. I name her Gonk. Gonk is above the level cap of 24 though, so we can't use her. I teach Dig to Jar Jar Binks instead, then take on Surge. Voltorb is a one-shot, and Pikachu is as well, once we manage to hit him. This is why I avoid using Double Team and Sand Attack. Raichu tries double teams as well, but Jar Jar Binks is having none of it and one-shots him, winning us badge 3. On Route 9, Palpatine kills our next encounter, a Spearow, with a critical headbutt. It sucks to lose the potential Drill Peck, but it is what it is. Palpatine evolves as we head into Lavender Town to face Jabba again. Anakin takes care of Pidgeotto with a Hyper Fang and a Quick Attack. Then we switch to C-3PO to intimidate Gyarados. Even with the attack drop, Thrash does way too much, so we have to switch again, this time to Jar Jar Binks. Horn Attack doesn't do much as Poison Point activates and Gyarados gets confused. Once Gyarados gets low, I use Dig and hope he knocks himself out. He doesn't, and Poison just barely doesn't finish him off, so Dig does nothing as he finally hits himself for the knockout. Execute threatens with Confusion, so I switch to Leia, but he puts her to sleep with Hypnosis. I stay in for a few turns to see if Leia wakes up, but Execute sets up Reflect and Leech Seed, so I switch to Chewbacca. Confusion does solid damage to him, and staying in here risks a crit, but Execute just uses Leech Seed as Chewbacca hits a bite. This stalls out Reflect, so I switch back to Anakin, who dodges a Hypnosis, then crushes the sentient eggs with a Hyper Fang. Anakin pops off, one-shotting Kadabra and Charmeleon thanks to a crit. On the way to Celadon, I catch a Growlithe named Darth Vader, then teach him the Flamethrower TM from the game corner, and evolve him. Clearing out the Rocket Hideout levels up C-3PO enough to evolve into Arbok, then we can face Giovanni. C-3PO takes out Onyx with a few bites, then Rhyhorn goes down the same way thanks to a crit. We paralyze Kangaskhan with Glare, use Wrap for some meaningless damage, then switch to Jar Jar Binks. Double Kick doesn't do much, then Mega Punch nearly takes us out, so I switch back to C-3PO for Intimidate. After doing barely any damage and nearly dying to a Mega Punch, I switch to Palpatine to finish Kangaskhan with Headbutt. With the Sylph Scope, we can head back to Lavender Town for another encounter, but the Ghastly takes herself out with Curse before I can catch her. Nevertheless, we can clear out the top of the tower to get the Pokéflute. With access to the southern part of Route 12, we can grab the Super Rod, which lets us catch a bunch of new Pokémon. The only one that matters is a Shelder from Vermilion City named Count Dooku. He won't be joining us for the fight against Erica, but that's okay since Darth Vader just one-shots everything with Flamethrower. After catching some unused team members, we have enough Pokédex entries to get the item finder, letting us grab the leftovers left behind by each of the Snorlax. On to Koga, and Palpatine one-shots his coughing with Psychic. Muk survives a hit, then uses Minimize, which lets him hit a couple of sludges, poisoning Palpatine. A held Pechaberry cures him, and we land another Psychic to take out Muk. Koga's second coughing and his wheezing are both one-shots as well. Back in Saffron, we clear out the Sylph Company building, which lets Leia evolve into her final form. Palpatine learns Thunder Wave here, because... Rival Fival time! Palpatine makes short work of his Pidgeot while staying healthy with leftovers. Gyarados can deal consistent damage with Dragon Rage, bringing Palpatine within one hit of death after he misses a Hypnosis. I switch to Leia to finish it with Quick Attack, and Jabba sends out Charizard. After a Feather Dance, Charizard lands a Flamethrower as Leia does a chunk of damage with Aerial Ace. Thanks to the attack drop, Darth Vader's Flash Fire ability, and Leftovers healing, Charizard can barely deal any damage to him as we take him out with a couple of strengths. Execute is a one-shot with Flamethrower, and Alakazam nearly goes down to a strength. His only way to deal damage is Future Sight though, so Darth Vader isn't actually in any real danger as he finishes it with a bite. Giovanni would be a Psychic Sweep with Palpatine, but he's in danger of over-leveling, so after he takes out Nidorino and heavily damages Nidoqueen, I switch to Gonk to finish her with a Dig. Kangaskhan comes out, and Gonk somehow survives a Mega Punch after dealing some chip with Mudslap. C-3PO comes out to paralyze her and lower her defense with Screech, but even at -6, Poison Sting does next to nothing. Chewbacca even needs 2 paydays to secure the kill. Kangaskhan is a beast. Rhyhorn takes nothing from a bite, so Palpatine comes back in to take him out with Psychic. With Saffron City cleared, we can take on Sabrina. It's another sweep with Palpatine. Kadabra goes down to Headbutt, Venomoth to Psychic, and Mr. Mime goes down to 2 Headbutts, getting flinched by the first. Alakazam sets up a Calm Mind, but even a +1 Psychic isn't enough to phase Palpatine, and he goes down to another Headbutt. Preparing for Blaine, I decide to sub out a few members of the team. C-3PO and Chewbacca get benched, bringing in Yoda the Oddish and Count Dooku the Shelder, both of whom evolve while clearing out the Cinnabar Mansion. Speaking of Count Dooku, he effortlessly sweeps Blaine's Growlithe and Ponytail with Surf. Rapidash outspeeds and nearly kills him with a Fire Blast, but gets one shot in return. I swap to Darth Vader against Blaine's own Arcanine, and despite Blaine's best efforts to stall the inevitable, Darth Vader wins the War of Attrition by spamming Strength. While defeating the trainers in the Viridian Gym, Yoda reaches level 35 and learns Moonlight, so I use a Leaf Stone to evolve him into Vileplume before taking on Giovanni. It doesn't end up mattering though, since Count Dooku one-shots his entire team with Surf. Dugtrio outspeeds to hit an Earthquake, but doesn't do even close to enough damage to be threatening. We have to take on Jabba once more before heading to the League, and Count Dooku is on a roll. He takes out Pidgeot with an Ice Beam, Rhyhorn with a Surf, and Execute with another Ice Beam. Alakazam has more than just Future Sight now, and Count Dooku's special defense is abysmal, so I switch to Palpatine. The dummy still likes to use Future Sight for some reason, even if it's already active, Palpatine lands a headbutt, then Alakazam disables it, so we put him to sleep with Hypnosis and switch to Gonk. An Earthquake finishes Alakazam, and Gyarados comes out threatening with Hydro Pump, so I switch to Yoda to tank it. Yoda underspeeds Gyarados as he sets up the Rain, then overrides it with Sun. His Chlorophyll ability lets him now outspeed and hit a one-turn Solar Beam. Gyarados sets up the Rain again, but even boosted Hydro Pumps don't do that much damage, and we can set up the Sun again to fire off more Solar Beams. Eventually, Gyarados goes down, and Charizard threatens with boosted Flamethrowers. Darth Vader doesn't care though, and can fire back with his own Flamethrower, boosted by both the Sun and Flash Fire. It's still not enough for the kill, even after a bite and a strength. Charizard eventually overpowers him and we need to switch. For some reason, Charizard refuses to use Flamethrower against Count Dooku and opts to attack his significantly higher physical defense, letting him finish the job with a Surf. If you're still watching at this point, obviously you're enjoying the video. That, or you're being forced to watch me as some sort of weird punishment. Anyway, it would help a ton if you could like, comment, or subscribe, preferably all three. Moving on, it's time to take on Lorelei. We don't really have a good answer for her, since nobody except Count Dooku resists water and ice, and he can't hit back for good damage. I opt to lead with Palpatine, and paralyze Dugong, hoping that she'll use Rest and give me time to set up Calm Minds. She doesn't, so I start to use Headbutt in the hopes of her either being paralyzed or flinching, also known as the Para-Flinch strategy. Dugong manages to hit 2 Ice Beams before getting healed by a full restore, and I use the opportunity to set up a Calm Mind. I use another 2 as she sets up Safeguard and hits another Ice Beam instead of setting the Hail back up. Psychic is now strong enough to one-shot Dugong, but Lapras is bulky enough to survive and use Confuse Ray. Palpatine of course hits himself and gets paralyzed by the incoming Body Slam, but manages to take out Lapras and set up 4 more Calm Minds as Cloyster attempts to run a status moves only challenge. Plus 6 Psychic is absolutely overkill for her, but allows us to nearly one-shot Slowbro as we tank a critical Surf. Another Psychic seals the deal and Jinx comes out. Since Palpatine is dead to a crit, I switch to Darth Vader on a resisted Ice Punch and take the final kill with Flamethrower. Bruno is next, and Yoda is able to one-shot Onix with Petal Dance, then dodge 2 Sky Uppercuts and nearly take out Hitmonchan. As Yoda gets confused, I switch to Palpatine as Bruno heals, then one-shot Hitmonchan and nearly take out Hitmonlee with Psychics. We get lucky again as Palpatine dodges a Mega Kick, then finishes Hitmonlee with a Headbutt. Back out to Yoda against Onix number 2, and a couple Earthquakes don't phase him as we set up the Sun for the speed boost and a one-turn Solar Beam for the one-shot. Machamp takes a Solar Beam, but just uses Scary Face. It isn't enough to outspeed Yoda, so we finish him with another Solar Beam. Agatha is super easy. After restoring Palpatine's power points, Psychic one-shots her entire team. Golbat outsped him to land a Confuse Ray, but a held Person Berry kept that from being a problem. Similarly, Count Dooku easily takes care of Lance. Gyarados does significant damage with Dragon Rage, but goes down to a few Ice Beams. Aerodactyl doesn't do much with Ancient Power thanks to a withdraw we snuck in against Gyarados. Count Dooku's Shell Armor ability stops him from being crit, so he was never in any danger and takes out Aerodactyl with a Surf. The rest of Lance's team can't do a thing as Ice Beams mow them all down. On to the final battle against Jabba, and I decide to let Gonk take the stage for once. Dugtrio is just too frail and not quite strong enough for Nuzlocke though, and can't even take out Pidgeot before we have to switch. Count Dooku comes in for the kill with Ice Beam, then one-shots Rhydon with Surf and Executor with Ice Beam. Palpatine takes care of Alakazam, but gets beat up and paralyzed in the process. Against Gyarados, it's back out to Count Dooku, who takes half his health and damage from Thrash before taking him down. Charizard's Fire Blast will definitely kill us here, so I switch to Darth Vader to absorb it and take the kill to win us the run. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. I had a lot of fun, and even though this was a pretty easy Nuzlocke in arguably the easiest game to do one in, I'm still glad I did it. If you have any ideas for wacky challenges I could do, let me know in the comments. See ya!